welcome back. So today we're going to talk about judgment. Not judging anyone unless you've walked in their shoes, and I mean that in the literal sense. It's very easy for us to pass judgment on other people. So I'm going to give you an example of, from my own life, that really resonated with me. I was cast in a movie 2 years ago called Blowtorch, and the character that I was going to be playing was a single mother of 3, and she worked as a waitress to take care of her family. Well, I'd never worked as a waitress, so I decided that in order to understand this character, I would have to take a waitress job, which I did at a restaurant in Brooklyn. And I worked with a woman named Dee, who was a single mother of 2, and boy, did she teach me a lot. Not only did she work that job 8 hours a day, but she went home to clean her apartment, make dinner for her children, do homework, bathe them, get them ready for bed, pay her bills, all the things that we all have to do, and some of us get to do them with support. Dee didn't have any support, and she did it with a great sense of humor. Sometimes on the job, people didn't treat her so nicely, and it could have been because, she wasn't in a great mood, and maybe she wasn't giving us service with a smile that day. And it gave me a lot of compassion for waiters and waitresses in restaurants. I always thought that I was very polite in those situations, but I am much more polite today, and I also don't expect, they're always going to be in a great mood. Stuff is happening in their life, and I had a couple of experiences in the restaurant serving up the Italian food. It was an Italian restaurant where people were really downright rude to me, and I thought, wow, and I thought I was being rather cheerful. So I really did walk in her shoes in a small way, because I was coming home to a husband and a warm meal and people here to help make my life more comfortable. Didn't have the burden that Dee had, and I'm really glad I got to walk in Dee's shoes. My friend Stacy, she's been my best friend since I'm 10 years old. We went to see a movie many years ago, a film called Beaches that many of you I'm sure have seen, some of you may not have, but it's a story of 2 best friends, and they've grown up together, known each other much like Stacy and I do since they were very young. As adults, Bette Midler's character is single and a very successful actress, and Barbara Hershey's character is married to kind of a rotten guy, and with a child. She ends up getting divorced, and she's diagnosed with cancer, and she's going to be, sadly, not getting through it, and she wants Bette Midler to adopt her daughter. Well, I was devastated that Bette Midler was going to be losing her best friend, and Stacy was devastated that Barbara Hershey's character was going to be leaving her daughter, and that her daughter was losing her mother. Stacy was a mother, I was not. I could not relate to how she was feeling, which is kind of terrible and sad on my part, but at that time in my life it was true. And we had the first fight we've ever had, which we laugh about today, but it was really a judgment call on each of our parts. I mean, Stacy did obviously understand what it was to be a best friend, but I guess the judgment call was more on my part. I wasn't understanding how Stacy was feeling, and I can't believe I was upset with her that she wasn't being compassionate with me about the loss that I was experiencing. But it really was a matter of judging without the experience of motherhood, and it was pretty funny. A more extreme example of this, and I only bring this up because I think it will be very controversial, but I want to try and get this point across. Several years ago, there was an op-ed piece in the New York Times. A woman in Queens had very sadly suffocated her baby. It was awful. And the news and the media were just excruciatingly cruel about the mother. And who could blame them? I mean, she had done the unthinkable. She had murdered her own child. And someone in an op-ed piece said, "It's so easy for those of us who have charmed lives, a husband, a nanny, someone to help us with our children. When you snap, or you're, having a bad day, or your child is colicky and unhappy, you can pass that child off to your husband. You can pass that child off to a nanny. Think about that woman who was on welfare, trying to, take care of her baby, no husband, no one to help her, no sleep, up all night for weeks at a time with a colicky child, and she just snapped. Now, obviously, all of us are thinking there's nothing to be said about a mother ending the life of her child. But if for 1 second we could put ourselves in her shoes, at least we'd have compassion for her. And I'm only offering this extreme example because I really do feel very strongly about the fact that compassion is what we need to be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And boy, the world would be a better place if we could all do that. I hope you enjoyed this lesson from Lois, and look forward to next week. Thanks.